Hi everyone, so I just finished my second night on the PTR for season 26, and just before the end I actually found an Oryx Dream Rift. So this is the run you can see here right now. It took me a few seconds to realize I'm in one of them, but you can see it has the name here in the top right corner, and you also have this kind of like shady blue like fog overlay that you can see here around the screen. So we kind of get a bit of an impression that this is a bit of a special rift here. So I went through the entire thing and I can show you my observations. So it seems like, also from what I've heard from other people getting them, it is always 10 floors and it is a certain list of maps and monsters that can roll in them. Other than this, there is nothing particularly special here, and it is essentially possible to roll a similar rift regularly. So just a normal greater rift as you open could also have festering roots and this monster type and all that stuff. So there's nothing special in that sense, but you have overall a very high quality rift. So you have good open maps, you have overall good monster types, and there is a few things in there that is not exactly like top tier. For example, I found like big spiders that you can see in a second. This monster type here is also kind of okay, but nothing crazy. So I believe they have mostly just filled out the bottom ones, especially like, oppressors and succubus and these kind of things. But some of these maps are also incredible. For example, here is a Fills of Misery with the Ghost combo. Something like this is incredibly good, especially as like a follow-up map on like floor 3 or something, when you just try to get a bit of progression to finish and spawn the boss. You can just go in here, blast down trash and not even care about elites. And if you get stuff like that multiple times in a row, this can actually shift the pushing meta for some builds. So the interesting part about this is that you actually can completely ignore elites because they have so many at least decent floors in a row, to where when you do like a regular push and you open like a really good floor 1, as you usually do it when you try to fish for a good map, let's say you're festering woods with like 70% progress, you fight through it for like 8 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that, and then you go to floor 2 and hope for a good follow-up. Here you are always guaranteed a decent follow-up, and this is really the main advantage. So you go through your floor 1, do like a slow push, get your pylons set up, kill the elites with a conduit, and then go to floor 2, and it's actually going to be something you can progress on instead of some cave where you can't make pulls and the run ends. So this is one advantage. And the other one obviously is that there are some builds that simply don't really want to fight any elites like ever. This is especially the case for a lot of wizard builds because of Twister and Rancel's Folly. So you can't pull elites. Usually you are very good at killing trash, and then once the density thins out, you run away from the elites because there's no way you're gonna kill any of them like ever. And something like, for example, Yana Monk, that also really benefits from having a lot of small targets. So you go in there, you have a big map, you pull it together with Cyclone Strike or something, blow up the density, and then you don't care about what's left. You just keep moving, and eventually you're gonna find your conduit in one of the bigger maps, pull like 5 elites to it, and you win. So I think this is gonna be one of those strategies that we're gonna see, at least for some of those builds that are really bad at fighting elites and fighting like small packs of monsters, and that really benefit from something like this. On the other hand, it also seems quite rare, so I haven't counted exactly, but from just my estimate, I would say I have maybe opened around 150, close to 200 Greater Rifts by now, and this is the first Oryx Dream I've found, so it definitely seems to be very rare. I'm not sure if I just got unlucky, but I've also heard many other people not getting one, or maybe getting one in several hours of playing. So if you fish for it, you can definitely find them rather quickly, but it will still take you at the pace that you can open rifts now, something like 10 minutes or so, I believe. So it's still a significant amount of fishing, and obviously you have to farm all those keys to even get one. I think they are a bit too rare. It's nice to have kind of this pushing scenario here, but I think it just doesn't happen too frequently, or it's simply not enough so that you can reliably fish for an Oryx Dream if you want to push, and then actually have a really good attempt at clearing something for the leaderboards. Overall, I think they have done a pretty good selection of maps, and monsters. So you see here, for example, there's Lakuni Face Beast, we had Be Accursed, we had Transformers. So these are typically some of the best monster types. As I mentioned, some of the mediocre ones are in there as well. Something like Big Spiders is not exactly great for most builds, can be good for some builds. So yeah, overall, I guess it's maybe like, just the bottom half of monster types that are like cut out of the whole thing, I believe. I'm not sure if any of the Rift Guardians are removed or if it's like more likely to get this pylon or another pylon. So this remains to be seen with lots and lots of data, because there's no mention of that. And I also don't believe that there is any like, skewed balance in one direction or another. So maybe you get fewer speed pylons and maybe you get fewer challenging pylons and you get more corners instead or something like that, which would still make it even better, but not to the point where it would actually become like a better rift in terms of the potential of rifts you can roll. Because theoretically you can get exactly the same thing with just a regular Greater Rift, but obviously the chances are minuscule. In my case, unlucky that I actually had this on a GR90 when I was just doing some gem house with a Fist of the Heavens Crusader. So maybe I'll get one in an actual push at some point. But I think that it's actually a good sign that Blizzard has identified the need for a change to make pushing a bit more quality of life, a bit, just more streamlined. And I imagine that they could actually take this as a first step to give us an actual pushing mode, some selection that you can do on the obelisk. And when you start a Greater Rift, and instead of the regular Greater Rift, you can open like a push rift. And why not, right? Just have it like always be like a good rift. But for example, you get no rewards, no XP, no loot. You don't get any rewards anyway when you're trying to push, because you simply don't really get to the end of a rift most of the time. So you just open good maps until you get something, you play through them, and you leave halfway through. So this is how you push. So it wouldn't really matter. And like this, they can kind of have like this more variety and more RNG mode that we typically farm in, where the RNG doesn't matter so much. You have some better runs, you have some worse runs, who cares? But at least you have some more variety. And then you have this pushing mode that is a bit more catered towards these better maps, better monsters, but also other things. So they could actually have, special rules in there for pylons, for example. How about you have to do more progression, but you also spawn all 5 pylons guaranteed in every single run. You get like one at 15%, you get one at 30%, you get one at 45 or something like that, right? So it's like a bit more like streamlined, a bit less RNG. And they could do many things, right? They can change how elites work, they can change how Rift Guardians work, they can even give you multiple Rift Guardians at the same time, they can give ads to every Rift Guardian, they could make elites more aggressive, they could give them like 6 affixes, or I don't know, a lot of stuff that could really spice this up, and at the same time make it less RNG heavy, so that you have an actual mode where you can really test the limits of a build without the time investment of actually fishing for it. So that you have this farming modes like T16 and speed GRs, and then you have like another mode that you can open. So this would be something, at least for the long run, where I can see this Oryx Dream really shine, and maybe this will actually become reality in the future. But on the other hand, we also don't rely on this Oryx Dream to push now. So I actually had much better rifts that, at least on floor 1, were extremely good and would definitely beat what I got here on floor 1. So it's not like we need to get an Oryx Dream, and even if it stays quite rare, it doesn't have to be just that if you want to push now. So this is also really good news. You can still get insanely good maps anyway, especially with the new Greater Rift maps with Fields of Misery and the Desert map and the Cemetery. And on top of this, you have still the other good maps that we know, the Festering Woods, for example. So there is a lot of potential for just higher quality rifts in the next patch in the future. One side part about this whole thing is also that when you get it while farming, it feels not really spectacular. I guess it's gonna be very nice when you actually try to push and you find one, but it would be cool if Oryx Dream, on top of being a good rift, it would also give maybe a special reward at the end. So if there was like maybe a guaranteed primal or something like that, where it's just something a bit more exciting that you find while farming as well. So in pushing, I guess you wouldn't really go through trouble to struggle your way through 20 minutes just to get like a primal at the end. That is like a random item. But if you are just doing like some 2-minute speedruns anyway, you get an Orek stream and you're immediately excited about it, even though the actual run doesn't differ very much from any other speedrun, because most of the time you don't really care about the map. So this could be something as well to add here, or maybe some other little reward that is like a little, tidbit that makes it a bit more exciting, but we'll see. So this is my 2 cents about the whole thing. Really nice, a bit too rare, and hopefully it will lead to further changes in the future. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you also got Orek stream on the PTR yourself, how that went for you or what you got exactly. I'll keep you guys updated with more stuff on the PTR, and see you guys next time.